Good morning, students. Today I am going to check a student's essay. You can see the essay question and answer printed below. The areas highlighted in bold have mistakes which I am going to correct. Other areas highlighted in green are okay, but I am going to make some improvements. So let's begin with paragraph 1. Nowadays, the English language, we need the here. Nowadays, the English language. Here we have to decide what tense we're going to use. I think the best tense is becoming enormously important. The English language is becoming enormously important in many areas of our lives, and various approaches to studying it are being used by different people. So I have made the first two sentences one. I think this looks more attractive, and when we talk about it when we talk about English the second time, we use it. We don't repeat the word English. And I've also changed the tense. Are being used by different people. Continuing, while some people believe that the most efficient way to become fluent is by studying abroad, not would be. Would be we would use about hypothetical situations. Hypothetical. Hypothetical. Meaning something which may be possible to happen if something else happened first. But here we are talking about something which is very real. So the most efficient way to become fluent is by studying abroad, whereas I think using whereas here and getting rid of the comma is better. Others prefer to study in their home country. We don't need to use the word languages. We already know the subject we are talking about. Paragraph 2. First and foremost, I would certainly agree that the most effective way to study English would involve travelling to an English-speaking country. This will put the students into an environment where he or she will be forced to use this language in daily communications. This student will hear new sentences, read advertisements and directions in English, and this will inevitably enhance his or her vocabulary as well as their speaking skills. So I'm adding a little bit of information on the end here. As we are talking about using the language in daily communications, we can certainly assume that the student is sometimes speaking as well. On top of that, here it sounds a bit clumsy to say the most important point, as you're saying this is an additional point when you say on top of that, so I think we should change this. So on top of that, another very important point is that the student will hear only correct and proper English, which is hard to achieve in their home country. Paragraph 3. However, the major obstacle for studying English overseas is usually finance, or we could say is usually financial constraints. Traveling to an English-speaking country requires paying for many things, such as visas, airline tickets, accommodation, etc. I've just added a few words there to improve the content. The total of all these expenses is usually very significant or very substantial. We can't say costly here. You can't say expenses are costly. You can say an airline ticket is costly. Compared to studying in your home country, and this is the reason why most students know of here cannot afford such a luxury option. Luxury sounds a little bit strange as a way to describe studying a language. It's okay, but a better word may be extravagant. Such an extravagant option, paragraph 4. Nevertheless, having access to the internet, no "and" here, makes available unlimited sources of English reading and listening material, such as news and movies. After movies, we should have a semicolon because the phrase following that is an independent sentence which can be understood in itself. Also, of course, without that semicolon or a full stop, it looks like a very long sentence. So, and it is even possible to find a friend or a tutor online for speaking practice, no S. However, this approach requires a great deal of commitment and motivation, as the student requires self-motivation. Actually, I'll change that. The student requires more self-motivation than they need living in an English-speaking environment where English is all around them. So I'm elaborating quite substantially on this last sentence to explain the differences between learning English in your home country and learning in the English-speaking country, and why this leads to different motivation levels for the learner. Final paragraph. All in all, studying English in an English-speaking country, here maybe the writer wants to say, has always been the best way to become proficient. Not only does it provide daily practice for the students, but also helps to avoid the mistakes commonly seen when practicing language with non-native speakers, such as bad grammar and pronunciation. So I'm just adding a bit of information there. Such as bad grammar and pronunciation. However, in the case where there is a lack of financial resources or time for traveling, here we should have a semicolon after traveling, not comma, because again the final phrase is an independent clause. Studying in your home country is always an option. Okay, the essay as written by the student would probably get somewhere between 6.5 and 7. It would have gotten a better score, but there are quite a few structural mistakes. But of course, with the corrections and improvements I have made, it should get the top score of 9 in IELTS or 120 in TOEFL. There are 309 words in this essay, which is okay for TOEFL, a little bit high for IELTS, but this is not a problem. However, the examiners are only going to grade you on 250 words. What this means is that they're going to look at the average quality of all the writing, so both the good parts and the bad parts. My general advice is that you should stick to around 10 or 15% above the required number of words, 250 and 300 for IELTS and TOEFL respectively. Writing in excess of the required amount is only going to get you higher marks if the quality of the writing in excess is better than the quality you have written within the requirement. Usually the best way to improve your score by adding more words is to go into more detail. So on any of your paragraphs you can add more detail about some example or story you have used to illustrate your points. So here in paragraph 4, for example, the writer could have given an example of someone they have met online who has helped them to improve their English. For example, we could put on the end of this paragraph, or actually put it as a separate paragraph, so we could have, say, paragraph 4b. Last year I was lucky enough to meet an American friend online through Facebook. He spoke great English and we would spend many evenings chatting together, and this really helped my English. Before meeting him, I had never had a native English-speaking friend before, and this was an exciting and educational experience. Notice how I have introduced the past perfect. I had never had a native-speaking friend before. So when you're introducing a story, you can introduce the past perfect. We're raising the level of grammar and vocabulary in the writing. Okay, students, that's enough for now, and good luck with your next assignment. Bye-bye.